And let's bring our next storyteller, David.
Okay. So it is a very hot, steamy summer day in New York City. It's about 99 degrees. And in Union Square Station, which is underground, it is 120 degrees. And I am sweating buckets. My shirt is covered in sweat. And I have these two huge bags full of garbage from a thrift store. Basically frames, knickknacks, crappy stuff to make my crappy apartment look a little less crappy. And the train pulls in the station, and immediately I jump in the air-conditioned car, and I do what everyone does in New York, which is look for a seat. And I see that there's only one seat available, and it's next to this girl, and the girl has two of her giant bags taking up two seats, which I find very annoying, but I stand there, and what you have to know about me is I hate confrontation. Like, for example, one time I was in the subway, and this drunk guy sat on me for about 3 minutes before I got up and left the train. And so, I normally just stand there and I just let the seats go. I don't normally confront people and ask them for stuff. But I live in the Bronx, and it's gonna be like 20 stops to get to my area, and then I gotta take a bus to my apartment. And I think to myself, no, this isn't fair. I have these huge bags. I'm tired. I'm sweaty. I deserve these seats. I deserve it. So I go up to her and I point to the seats, and she looks up at me, and she's wearing this Puerto Rican shirt and this Puerto Rican bandana, and she, grunts and takes up the bags from the seats, and I sit down. And when I sit down, my knee kind of brushes one of the bags, and she goes and says, "Geez, you can't say excuse me nothing?" And I look at her, and word vomit comes from my mouth, which basically I blurt out something, and I blurt out, "No, I can't." And I knew immediately once I said that I had made a mistake, because she gets so angry, and I get so scared. And immediately she takes out her phone, she calls her friend, starts talking bad about me. She starts saying stuff like she's going to kick my butt, she's going to call her friends to meet me at my stop to attack me. And then she starts talking bad about me in Spanish. And I speak Spanish, so I know exactly what she's saying. And then she says something that I find very funny. And she says, "This white boy thinks he's better than me." And I find this very funny because both my parents are Puerto Rican. So what you gotta know about me is I was born in New York City. I was born in New York, and I lived in New York till I was 3 years old. And then we moved to Puerto Rico. And I lived in Puerto Rico from 3 years old to 25. And growing up, my parents, they wanted me to speak English because they knew it was going to be an advantage for me growing up. And so they spoke English all around the house. The thing is, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and mostly because I got bullied a lot. And so I spent a lot of my time watching cable TV and speaking English around the house, and my voice started to develop in English very well. And then I started to read books like Christopher Pike, R.L. Stein, like adult books and some classics, and my diction got a lot better. And so I was very isolated, and my English became much, much more better. And then I wound up going to an English-speaking school, and I developed friends at that point. All my friends were from New York or other parts of the U.S., and suddenly I spoke perfect English. And actually, my Spanish started to suffer a little bit. I actually got a little bit of an accent in Spanish to this day. And I was living a very sheltered life. But when I graduated high school, I discovered that I was in trouble. I was in a very bad situation. And that situation is that in Puerto Rico, there's this national question. And the question is, what makes a Puerto Rican? Is it the color of his skin? Is it that he was born in Puerto Rico? Or is it that he speaks Spanish or Spanish, Spanish primarily or Spanish alone? And I knew I did not fit any of those criteria. And I guess because the reason why we have this question is because, we were we were a country that was always dominated by another country. First it was Spain, and then the U.S., and we kind of lost our identity. And I wound up being on the outs of what was supposed to be a Puerto Rican. And I remember I would have really bad situations. Like one time I was in this chat room, in the singles chat room for people supposed to be my age, and I'm talking to this girl, and I found out she's from Guaynabo, which is a town about 15 minutes away from me. And I go, oh, this is awesome. I can, and we're flirting, and I go, okay, I can ask her out, and we can go out. And I start talking to her, and she goes, oh, hey, where are you from? And I go, oh, I'm from Bayamon. And she goes, wait, you're from Bayamon? You're in Puerto Rico? And I go, yeah, I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm from Bayamon. And she goes and says, why are we speaking Spanish right now? Why are you speaking English? And I go, oh, my brain works in English, and I kind of prefer it. And then she goes and says, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I go, why? And she says, because I only talk to real Puerto Ricans. Yo solo hablo con boricuas. Boricuas is a slang for Puerto Ricans. And these situations will happen to me. Now, I'm back on the train, and she's on the phone now. The girl wants to kick my ass. And she's talking to her friends in Spanish, and she'll occasionally talk in English. And when she talks in English, she'll say stuff like, does Juan still have his bat? Does Jose still have his gun? I know they have priors, but I think we can get away with this, And then in Spanish, she's trying to figure out where my stop is, because she's going to Gun Hill Road. I know this already because she's talked to her friends. She's going to Gun Hill Road, which is like toward the end of the 5 line. And she starts saying stuff like, I think he gets off on 96th Street because all white people get off on 96th Street. Nobody goes past 96th Street that's white. And I'm thinking to myself, this is ridiculous, But when I first moved to New York, a whole world opened up to me because in Puerto Rico, it's not really much difference from Puerto Ricans. There's Puerto Ricans, and there's people from the U.S., and there's a couple Asians, But when I moved to Puerto Rico, this whole world of cultures exploded for me. I started meeting people from other countries, other ethnicities. I can't tell you how shocking it was when I saw Hasidic Jew for the first time. It was amazing to me. But a really funny thing started to happen, and that was that I started being confused for other races. I got confused for being Jewish, Italian, one time Pakistani, but mostly I got confused for being white. People would usually find out by conversations. I was from Puerto Rico. I'd say, I grew up in Puerto Rico, blah, blah. And they would always say the same thing. But you speak English so well. Or, you don't sound like a Puerto Rican. And I go, well, you don't sound like a racist, but hey, I guess the world is full of surprises, isn't it? And this would happen over and over and over again to the point where I got so tired, I just stopped bringing it up. Just let people believe what they want to believe, And then one day, I'm at the storytelling show called The Moth, which is this gigantic show where all storytellers go to. It's like the Oscars of storytelling. So if you get to go up, it's a big deal. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting next to this little old lady. And she looks like your grandma. She has a little perm. She has a little purse. She has tissues in her, in her sleeves, and she's like sucking on a candy, and she offers me candy, and I go, thank you, no thank you. And we're talking. It's kind of like talking to a golden girl. And she's very nice to me when we're having a conversation. And then she gets picked, and she goes up, and she tells this story, and it's not very good, but I'm supportive to all storytellers, even if they're not very good. And she comes down from stage, and she gets not very good scores because they score you at this place. And I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. You did good. Good thing you going up there. You did the best then, And she's very appreciative. And then this man from Colombia goes up, and he tells this incredible story. He tells his amazing story. It's very moving, very funny, and he gets these amazing scores, and he winds up winning. And after he comes off stage, I'm going to call her Barbara, because that's her name. And she leans over to me. She just goes, hey, I guess you got to be a spick to get good scores around here. And I'm like shocked and angry. I'm shocked because I can't believe this came out of this woman, which in retrospect, I probably should have thought maybe it might have. And I'm angry because she just ruined my night. She ruined this place that I like to go to enjoy. She ruined it. But the most important thing is that I was angry at myself because I didn't say anything. I even actually shook her hand when she left. I was so angry at myself for that. I still regret that to this day. So now I'm back on the train, and I'm getting to the end of my stop, you know? So I get to Arrowton, and which is my stop, and I get up to leave to go to the bus stop, and when I get up, this girl starts screaming, "He's getting off at Arrowton! He's getting off at Arrowton!" to her phone, and I look at her, and I just go, "Yo soy boricua!" And she doesn't really know how to respond to that, and I really don't know how to follow that up. So I just walk off the train, and I go to the bus stop, and I'm standing there, and I'm thinking to myself, what just happened? And I realized that, like, I'm like this racial nomad, you know, like, I wear all these different masks, you know, throughout life, but my true face, the one mask, I guess you could say, that I want to wear the most, that it's me, I'm told, you can wear that because you don't live up to the standard. You don't live up to the stereotype. You're not this. You know, you don't fit in. And at the bus stop, I sit down and I realize, you know what? Yo soy boricua. Thank you.